What are you at, everyone? Welcome back to the SBI Podcast, Newfoundland's #1 podcast. I'm your host, Robert Greeley. And hey, how's it been? It's been a week. What are y'all up to? Guys, we got a great episode again for you this week. It turned into a little, funny enough, Champions West theme. So, Dawson, he's from that area. We go into him and his whole thing with, his clothing company, and then also being an extra in the Grand Seduction, which is, of course, that classic film. Mark Critch is in it. And it was all based here out of Newfoundland. The small little town, they get a brand new doctor. They try and cohort him and keep him and give him all the bells and whistles so he doesn't want to leave the island. So yeah, Dawson Chat's, just having an extra role in that, and being in the little church scene. I'm not going to say much more because he's going to get right into that there. And then after, we've also got East Coast Glow. Now, I've known Roger for a little bit here, and it's such a cool story, and we really get into all the nooks and crannies, I guess, of running a business, and especially in that skincare industry. And it's one of my, honestly, it's in terms of like Newfoundland businesses, is definitely one that I use all the time. I mean, I'm a big fan of their soaps, and I use it every day because hey, you got to wash your hands, especially with COVID-19 going on. Guys, listen, Newfoundlanders, it's a virus, okay? As much as we'd like to think that it's never going to show up on this island, it's going to show up on this island, right? We're seeing it this week. We've got a couple more cases. Listen, let's just, wear your mask, 6 feet, respect the rules. We got to try and, just prepare for, when we have an outbreak, things are limited so the spread doesn't continue as much as it possibly can. you know let's we're all in this together, and hey, like, I got faith in us. We can definitely do it. Okay, but without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start off with Dawson and his chat about his clothing company and having an extra role in the Grand Seduction. This is the SBI Podcast, Newfoundland's #1 podcast. I'm your host, Robert Greeley. Enjoy. Dawson, welcome to the SBI Podcast, man. How's it going?
But how's you?
Can't complain. So now, it was funny enough because you reached out to me through like a TikTok live because we played volleyball against each other back in the day.
Man, I don't know, but man, I'm pretty sure I don't know, but I've seen you a couple times for sure. I don't know. I don't know when you graduated, but I do remember seeing you a couple times in the school there. I'm sure we played against each other, but I'm not 100% certain, right?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, you said you played for Port Wrexham, right?
Yes, man. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'd
yeah.
say, yeah, it definitely coincides.
Yeah,
So now,
crossed pets a couple times there.
pardon me.
We definitely crossed pets a couple times for sure.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's just Clarendon, Port Wrexham, that whole area, Bonavista.
Rivalry, I
Pardon
miss
me.
it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
rivalry.
Now, so what have you been up to since volleyball? Because you've gone into like business for yourself there now, eh?
Yeah, I got the clothing business going on. Everything is well, I've been basically like past 4 years, man. I've been all over the place. I graduated with Alberta for 1 week. I said I was never going to come back here, and 5 days later I was back here on the rock again. I couldn't. I miss it so much. My family and my friends, and I missed everything, man.
So what were you doing up in Alberta?
Well, I was going to go up for I went up to go to school. I got accepted in Grand Prairie for welder, and it's basically I was young at the time, didn't know what to do with my life, like for that fact there, and I went up there and I didn't go to school. I accepted another job, and then I didn't even go to the job. I just come back home. I just couldn't deal with it up there, and it's not like the Rock for sure. Not nothing beats the Bay, I should say.
Fair enough. The clothing company that you got going on there now, tell me a little bit about that.
um, It's basically Anchored Edge Apparel. I got a Facebook page. I'm working on a website. Taking forever to do a website. Just try to get everything figured out. Basically, I want to give back. Well, I tried to develop a thing where I can make something off it, but also give back to people like low income families. And the way the clothing is going these days, man, like it's so expensive for things. Like you going out to a store, you're paying like $90 taxes in for a sweater, and it's wild. And like it's to me, I was always interested in like, doing clothing and giving back to people all my life. I like to give back, seeing people smile, and I've done it since day one. And to give back to the people like low income families and people who can afford it, and so they can wear this awesome clothing, and it's so comfortable, and I got a lot of great reviews on it, and I'll keep on going with it, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. The initiative, what makes you kind of driven to supporting lower income families?
Well, man, like, and like I said, all my life, man, like seeing people struggle, I wanted to always give back, and maybe it's where I was taught coming up through my life, like to always give back. And if I could give stuff free, I would. I would give all this stuff for free. And I know, man, it's just to come from the heart, and I've always had been like this, just, to help people. And I mean, ever since I was in school, was all I ever done was give back to the world and give back to people in need, and who would want to wear these things, right?
Mhm. So what's it called again? It's Anchored Edge.
Yeah, right here. Oh, Anchored Edge Apparel.
There you go. Now, so how are you essentially like? Is it for every sale, it's a kickback and you're donating it to these lower income families, or like are you coming in
Um,
at like a more affordable cost?
I'm coming in, man. Like I I wish I could do it that way, but unfortunately I can't. So basically, um, I'm making it affordable for people, right?
Hmm.
Basically not charge so much money for things. And usually how it goes, if you pay for something, say you pay for something expensive, you're hoping to get like long wear and tear off it, right? But what if you do something that's affordable and have it in the long run? Like, obviously clothing's going to wear, but why can't you go out and buy something that's affordable and have it for a long time? And that's what was my goal to from day one, right?
So how are you accomplishing that essentially? Like what are you doing in terms of the manufacturing, different methods?
Oh, well, it's fairly new, so like I'm just getting out there. Like, new system. I got a new system coming up where I'm hopefully going to get the proper machine to do the logos myself.
Hmm.
But for right now, I'm going through somebody to do that, and I'm purchasing getting the sweaters in, and I'm getting the logos done, and I'm getting them out there, right?
Now the branding behind the company, where does that all stem from? Like I know you got the two anchors there and the northwest,
Yeah.
southeast, and whatnot.
Um, Man, like growing up in the Bay, pretty much. But I was always a big fan of anchors, and people growing up out here, you're guaranteed to love anchors, and not just for here, but anywhere. I mean, across Canada. I mean, you got all these like Nova Scotia, and you got uh, BC and places like that. Man, people was like loving anchors, loving boats and stuff, and yeah, that's where it all comes from. And about like 4 years ago, when I was living in St. John's, I was doing cabinetry work, like kitchen cabinets and stuff. And I said, why don't I just like, why don't I just? I was thinking every single day, why don't I just make this a clothing brand into something great? Like, go home and put it all on paper. And I started off with a little tiny piece of paper, and I drew up my whole logo. And I got into contact my buddy there from Nova Scotia. He got me hooked up with graphic designer, and I went from there, and here I am.
Now, so far, what's been the initial response that you've seen for your clothing?
Oh, I had a lot of great reviews. Like, I mean, from the numbers, well, the numbers might seem low, but I'm hoping to gradually go high. Um, like around Christmas time and like the summer, man, like it's steady, right? And I don't know, it's good, man. Like I guess a lot of great reviews. I mean, I'm not allowed to say, but like overall, like people mess you, man. Like this way, it's like lasts a long time, and it's so comfortable, so warm, and like to hear those great reviews is awesome. I'm like to see pictures of people wearing it, it's pretty smile on my face.
So now, where do you really hope to see this clothing company in an ideal space, say 5 years time?
My hopes is just go across Canada. That's my goal right now. Um, I'm, you know, I'm doing a bit of or putting a bit of work into, but not how much as I want it to because I got a lot of stuff going on. But eventually, I'm going to get these new stuff on the go. I get a website going, Instagram. I got a Facebook page for it now. After doing giveaways, just to get the name out there and get it across, across Canada pretty much. But I got a couple, it's a couple in Calgary that wanted some, and there was some in BC, and so I mean, it's awesome, how much people want this stuff, right? It's great, makes me happy.
No, I'm glad you're having some early success, and I'm excited to kind of see where Anchored Edge takes you.
Yeah, I'll be definitely sending you a sweater for sure.
No, now what was interesting with you when you first reached out to me and stuff like that, you were mentioning the Grand Seduction. And so you actually, had a part in that movie, which is, I mean, a classic Newfoundland film that a lot of people recognize.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it all started like growing up, like you a summer job, like you go, how I went, like I want to help out and help out myself to get stuff I want for school when school started. So like I went cutting grass, right? For like I was at it for like 4 years, man, making decent money cutting grass, and so my mother said they're having auditions or something at Lions Hall in Porexton. I said, oh, I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it first because growing up, I was a shy kid. Like, I didn't want, like, I was so nervous doing it. And so she brought me there. I was like, hey, just give it a try. So I went in there and they told me to stand up there, got my height and stuff. Give me a couple questions. I was nervous as anything, basically shaking there. And so I don't know, about a couple weeks later, yeah, we'll get you on for an extra. I was like, oh, awesome! I'm going in for an extra in the movie. That was all good, and it's just been on from there.
So what exactly were you thinking when, you got the role? How are you going to tackle it?
Well, all I ever knew was an extra role was to just either walk in the background or just sit in the background. Um, I was so as a as I don't know how old was, like 15, maybe 14. I don't know. I was so nervous, man, and like funny story is I was it was in a church scene, right? I was in the second row in the church scene, and I forget fella's name, but this big movie star, I don't know why, I forget his name. I should have marked it down if I got in there. So this guy was up on the stage and he telling us what to do, and I was there saying I wouldn't even listen hardly, right? I wasn't. So then everything hit, and then Buddy walked through the doors, and there's a big racket there, and I was like sitting back. I was like, I didn't even know what to say, and I didn't even say anything, and oh man, I wasn't even expecting it. Like and it was just crazy. I was in the church scene, right in the second. I was the second row in the seats. And you could tell in the video, tell in the movie, I was so nervous. You can see it on my face.
Now, the premise of the movie, like the plot, basically kind of runs down through this doctor comes into town, and the whole townspeople are trying to more or less convince him to stay and stick around, and really take in the beauty that Newfoundland has to offer. What do you think of the overall messaging of all that? Because I mean, you even just mentioned at the earlier part of this interview how you left Newfoundland and just couldn't do it and wanted to come back and be a part of our island.
Yeah, well, at the time I didn't know like the whole story around the movie, but as I got older, I started to understand more about it and how Newfoundlanders at the time needed the help, and no one wanted to go away. They all wanted to stay here, right? And I can't blame anybody. Like, just at the time in my head, like I was like, I said, well, I don't understand the point of this movie. I'm put in this place where I don't know, I don't know what's on the go here, but as I got older, I started to realize more and how much the movie really meant to people and this whole storyline behind it. And I thought it was an amazing storyline. And everybody told me it was great, right? Like,
so when you first got that extra role, did you think that was going to kind of spark your movie acting career, or were you more or less just like, this is a quick little nice little summer gig for me?
Be honest with you, I was hoping like at the time I thought, well, yeah, well, if I got into this here now, there could be more opportunities come up. But being in Newfoundland, there's not many of that opportunities being here, right? Sometimes people got to go away to be what they want to be. So then I don't know, it was about a couple months later, there was another movie film down here, right where I live too. They were asking us they come here to ask if they could have the driveway and my neighbor's driveway, and because the scenery down in Champion's West where I live to is a beautiful scenery, and this is where they want to film the movie, to film one scene down here, right? So they come out, they use the back door, and I answered, and they said, we're filming a movie here. I was like, wow, really? I was just in one about a month ago. And they were like, oh, really? Like, we'll get you your number. We'll probably call you and see if we get into an extra or a talking scene, right? And that was all good, man. Next couple of days, I was, I was so happy, and I didn't even get a call. So that ended pretty quickly, right? So, but it was awesome.
Now, when the Grand Seduction came out, did you have a big old viewing party down the shed or what?
Oh man, no. Down they give us the time slots for when they're in the theaters. Like, there was like 3 movies in Clarenville, and 2 of them was down Bonavista, Vista. And I didn't get the chance to watch it. And up until about, I don't know, it was like a year later, I got to watch it. There was no DVDs left. I couldn't get in a chance in the theater to watch it because it was sold out every single time. And so then, like a year later, I finally sit down and got to watch it.
So you're in the movie, and a year you couldn't get no DVD for yourself, couldn't get no seat in the theater.
No, I swear, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm looking everywhere for this DVD, and I can't find it anywhere. And then I go there and I try and get up Carnival, sold out. Go down Bonavista Vista, not a seat left. This is crazy. And here me trying to be, I was so excited. And the funny thing is, at the end of the movie, I was like, waiting for my name to pop up on the screen. I didn't even see my name anywhere. I was like, whatever. And what they told me, I was supposed to be in 2 scenes, which that's what I did. But I only seen myself in 1 scene. And 2 of the scenes were 2 church scenes, right? But I didn't see myself in the other one. So, but it was good, really good pay too, right? So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with a lot of movies and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that gets cut in post-production, and more or less nobody finds out until they're sitting in the movie theater. So, I mean, at least you got in for 1 scene, because, I mean, there's people who have gone in and filmed for like 3-4 days, and they go to the premiere and realize they're not even in it.
Oh, man, I tell you, a couple times, they had all these taxis set up hard for people on do taxis to do. Everyone had like this. It was crazy how it all set up. So this girl called me, yeah, we need you for this day. to a taxi com. We had to meet them somewhere. They pick us up, big load of us, and you go in there for a full day. You're sitting there for a full day waiting to get called. And I went there was 2 days straight. I never got called. I was sitting there for 2 days, but I still got paid.
It's not bad, boy.
And you like the eat whatever you want, Sarah. It was crazy, man. You just go in there and you sit down and you wait, and then you hand it the cash to you at the end of the day, and like, yeah, we'll need you back tomorrow. And at this age, like, you say, my God, like, I got so much money. You don't know what to do with yourself, right?
Go down to the corner store, buy yourself a pack of gum and some candies and chips.
But instead I took the money and went and bought myself some school clothes and stuff like that, and help my parents out and stuff like that, right?
Yes. So now, did you interact with Mark Critch much? Because I mean, he was a big play in that. Yeah. So what was it like working with him? Because that's not a thing many Newfoundlanders can say, is that they work with Mark Critch on a movie.
I was in the church scene with him, actually. He come in through the door. That's what I was explaining the whole. Man, it was like awesome watching it, and it was like crazy. Working with these, I can't really say I worked with them. I was in the scene, but watching them do their thing. You get firsthand what it's like behind. What it's like being in the movie and behind the scenes, pretty much. And it kind of working. At the time, I didn't understand much of it, but looking back now, like I said, wow, I got to be in a scene with this guy. That's pretty awesome. And man, I loved it, but it had its downfalls too. Just things they do in the movie. After that, watching movies now, you're playing in your head, like you say, oh, well, that's the extra there. They got this big light coming in this window. I think that's you're just seeing in your head on what you've been through in that movie and what you're playing in other movies. It's crazy.
Well, welcome to my world, man. I haven't been able to really sit down and just think about a movie plot since I was like 14, right? Because once you get into it, you start understanding what more and more goes behind the scenes, and then sometimes too, you're like, oh, you know what? They probably could have done this and made it look a little bit better, right? So when that gets in your head, it don't leave.
Oh man, it's funny how one movie can and guaranteed every movie. Like you pick out your acting, you pick out I don't know what could have been done there, and it's just I don't know. It's just sometimes I say, man, like that movie ruined me, but at the same time, it was a great experience. At the end of the day.
You're watching new movies now where there's a church scene with a kid 2 rows back, and you're there looking at whoever you sat there with, being like, "See, look, I could do that 10 times better than what he's at."
Yeah, it's true, man. And here I even say for actors, like, man, I can act better than that. But every Newfoundlander says, man, you can act better than that, man. Right? It's just and also in that movie, Snook was in it from NTV. There, well, everyone knows Snook in Newfoundland pretty much, and and you just look around yourself like, man, he was in so many movies, and like, wow, then reality hits you like, wow, I'm actually in this movie with these guys. So
no, I mean, it's incredible bragging rights. Now I gotta ask, because there's about a 12-month period when that movie came out and before you even got to see it. So are people coming up to you being like, hey, I saw you in the Grand Seduction, boy, great job, you look great, and you're just kind of like, thanks, I suppose. I haven't seen it yet myself.
Man, I see. No one really noticed me in the movie, but close family members, close friends, and there was one that did recognize me, and this is the type of person that probably like looked straight in this movie, like picking every detail apart, knowing everyone's faces. So then, I don't know, about a year later, like that summer after that, worked over in Trinity. These people from I think it was Montreal or something. They said, there was a movie filmed down here, and once I said, yeah, this is the Grand Seduction. I said I was in the movie, and they were like stoked about it. Like they were like, wow, like they even wanted a picture with me. And so me being at this age, I got a picture with them. I didn't even know who they were, and I still even don't even know. Like I should have given them a number or something. And see them smile and like saying, "Well, I wasn't even a big star, but I was just an extra from Newfoundland in the movie." And it was awesome, man. It was like I couldn't believe it.
Hey man, sometimes people love it. Do you have any sometimes you get some decent stills and whatnot. Any photos of you on set that you get to look back on now, or do you just have the scene from the movie that you reflect on?
Um, when I got a hold of the movie, for so long, I I took a picture of the scene I was in. I got a couple pictures there, and you could just look on the look on my face how I just wasn't ready, and how you could just tell how I was so nervous. And like you could see in my eyes, I was about to cry because a person was talking here, another one was talking here, and I didn't even know what to do. I just when they got up, I got up. When they sat down, I sat down. And being at such a young age, you kind of you didn't realize at the time how I could have done a better job being at 21 years old right now.
Well, I mean, you know what? It's probably pretty accurate acting because a Newfoundland boy in church on a Sunday crying ain't something that's far from being astray.
That's right, but man, I tell you, it was I don't know. And then he told me, "Yeah, you're gonna be in the third scene. You're gonna be walking up the pathway." And then Buzz coming in around quad, and I was there waiting, and someone else took my spot. And and still this day, I don't even know why. They told me I was supposed to, but I never did. So, yeah, man, like I said, the pay was great. It was a good experience, and it has its ups and downs. Looking at movies now, you always thinking in your head, like, I just couldn't get over how they got the lighting in the places. Like,
Mhm.
if it was a sunny day, they had the lights outside the windows coming in. I couldn't get over it. I had these big machines there, and it was crazy.
Well, it all comes from basically it stems from the fact of you want to control everything that you possibly can control, right? So especially in terms of big productions like that, when it costs so much money, you don't want
Yeah,
to have your scene all set up and you set everything, you put all your camera settings in and stuff like that for this particular natural light, and then while you're filming the big old scene, cloud comes across and ruins it, right? So when you can,
exactly.
with all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff, it stems from the most that you can possibly control. You're gonna do it, right? Because I
definitely,
mean,
man.
there's some moments where you don't even get a second take, right? It's like, hey, I mean, the Grand Seduction wasn't like this, but I mean, movie scenes where you see like big things like break and almost like that big old crash in a say like an adventure or a crime movie and stuff.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's like, hey, we got one shot at this, right? So imagine now if they didn't have that light gear and you go flying through the
oh,
window and a cloud come across and ruin it for you.
oh man, I know it's crazy. And like I said, in every movie I watch now, I notice everything, like the lighting and the extras, and I say, yeah, that could have been me in the background there, stuff like that. And man, it's crazy.
Now,
But wait now, what's that?
what are you up to now? You got any big movie roles coming your way or what?
Man, too bad. Hey, I probably wouldn't be here. Oh man, no, like you said, I'm focusing on myself and focusing on my business and focusing on making a difference to the world and helping people. And man, I tell you, I taken life. I'm looking at life more now as I get older, and what I have around me, and I'm grateful for so many things, man. And looking at what I have and what other people don't have, and just to help people in the world and just to make people happy every day. That's what I ever wanted to do, and I'm going every day. I'm enjoying life, and trying to make a difference to the world. And man, anybody, I I, I pour my heart out for everybody, and I'm working towards being a better person every single day and making the world into a better place. And working, I'm working and I'm loving life, man. Life is the best. You only go this way once.
I love it, man. It's a great message. What's your 9 to 5 right now? How's that look like? What's the framework there?
What's that?
What's your 9 to 5 looking like? Like, what's the framework there? You said you were working.
Um, yeah, well, in a couple months, well, in about a month's time, I'm gonna be hard into the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just kind of taking a step back and looking at towards what I got to do going forward, and with the business and being with family and man, sometimes it can be hectic. I tell you, with the business is hectic and is I'm excited what this road takes me, and I've said a lot. I'm gonna start a new journey for myself, and hoping that my clothing brand can get further and get out there. And multiple people have told me like, why don't you get Alan Doyle's address? Send off a hoodie to him. See if you get to wear it. Get the name out there. But in reality, I'm just going to send one to you because man, you seem to be pretty popular.
Oh man, listen, I appreciate that, but no, I'm not that popular. Why?
I'm not either, but don't worry about it. Something I don't want to be. I like having close friends, close family, and sometimes you don't need to be popular. Being a new fan too. Just go out on the water, my son. Out on the water, my son. Go for a fish, man. Come back in again. You're perfect. You're ready to go. Your day is perfect, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's always a good evening when you can go out and get some fish.
Oh, buddy, you know something? Waters and back there, man. I woke up, I don't know, a couple of years ago, to the wells blowing out on the water. They have that
Yeah.
close, right? It's crazy. I say I'm from Port Rexon. That's just to tell people, I live out this way. When I tell people I'm from Port Rexon, I'm not from Port Rexon. I'm from Champions West. And growing up in a small community, man, is amazing. Like, we got this community of like, I don't know, 35, 40 people, and we all stick together for one. If you want, I'm calling my community on your podcast right now. If you want to visit Champions West, it's a beautiful area here, and it's amazing. We got the best people here. I love it.
No,
So nice people.
I gotta say that Champions West and Port Rexon area is quite nice. I was actually there the weekend.
Really?
Yeah. I was down. I did what did I do exactly? I went, grabbed some coffee at Bear Mountain Coffee House and drove down and stopped into Port Rexon for a quick second. Then went all the way down to Bonavista there.
Bottle.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
Then came back up and swung into the brewery and went home out of it.
Oh, living in St. John's, I'll tell you something. Brewery. Thank God for a brewery. I says because man, I went in St. John's and people ask you, where you're from? I said, I'm from Champions West, and he said, where's that to? Like, then I say, no, I'm from Port Rexon Brewery. They knew it right away.
Mm.
Thank God, of course, no man, no one know where I'm from.
No, I get that, man. Living in Ontario and in Ottawa for the last 4 years, I mean, you really more or less depict it to. I mean, people would ask, and like some people get right excited because they know St. John's and that's it, so they're expecting you to say St. John's. Well, then when you say
Yeah.
you're from somewhere else, then they're just like, oh, like where's that in correlation to St. John's, right? And so I always used to just say that I was born in St. John because I was born in St. John's. So I tell them I was born in St. John's, but I grew up in Claremont, so that way they wouldn't feel too bad about not knowing anything outside of St. John's, basically.
Well, you had it not too bad. You say you're from Claremont. We'll say everybody knows where Claremont is. But Claremont and Baptista too, eh?
Yeah, no, but I tell you one thing, it is. I've worked I worked in a restaurant up in Ottawa in the Westboro area, right? And you'd have a
Yeah.
few people roll in with a Port Rexon Brewery shirt on.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing pretty well for themselves, I gotta
Yeah,
say. Yeah.
yeah. They got made this big facility up there too, and it's pretty crazy, man. And starting to get getting the small communities out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, uh, it's funny, the communities around here are booming now. Like the past couple summers down in Champions West, man, there's people down there every single day. We got the Champions West Aquarium. We got we got a Heritage House up there too, but we have the Champions West concerts. Champions West concert, man, is always a big hit. Where we used to up until coronavirus hit, we took the concert. We sold out Bonavista Theater in 2 nights, and I mean it's awesome. And everyone's starting to know Champions West more and more every day, and especially from the aquarium over there, man. The aquarium has been booming the past 3 or 4 years. It's awesome. It's great. It's great for small communities.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, no, I mean that's the thing, right? It's definitely alive and well, and there's a lot. Even though it's small, they got big things to offer.
Exactly. And tell you what makes a community is the people who live in it. Um, so if you go to a community, you have nice people and willing to help you and you're willing to talk to you. I mean, they're always going to remember that. And I've always said this is what makes a community. It's not the community itself; it's the people who's living in it. And people always say, we have nice people down here. Always stick together. And if there's one problem, the whole community acts as a family. We work together and get it done. And that's what I love about it down here. No one's a bad enemy. Everyone's friends, and everyone's willing to help each other out. And if there's a person that comes down there, we help them out. And that's the way it always should be.
Well, hey, Dawson, I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been a pleasure
Yes.
chatting with you. You super positive message, and it's great. I'm wishing nothing but the best for your company and you moving forward, man.
Thanks, buddy. And I'm expecting big things from you too.
We'll see.
Yes,
We'll see.
you might not ever see me in a movie, but I tell you that you'll see me if you watch that movie. You'll see me in the second row. I tell you.
All right, Dawson, take care.
I appreciate it.
Now, wasn't that a cool perspective on that whole movie? Okay, we're going to completely switch, do a 180 here now, and we're diving into the skincare industry with Roger from East Coast Glow. Let's go. Roger, how's it going? Good to see you.
Things are good. And you?
Yeah, can't complain, Welcome to the SBI podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having us.
So now, before we get into East Coast Glow and the business side of things, I'm curious what kind of childhood really developed into this career of making skincare products and things like that.
I mean, we were always interested in natural products, I guess. Like after leaving Clarenville and moving away to Nunavut and into Halifax, I think we've always kind of had an interest in that. When we returned back to Clarenville, we bought our first home and started a family. And shortly after that, I think that's where it kind of sparked into. Our daughter had a skin condition, and my wife decided on her mat leave to create some soap and lotions and salves that we knew that was probably the best solution for her issues. And the rest is history. I guess we just continue to make it for friends and family, and they give us great feedback. And we had an opportunity to relocate to where we are now. It's currently Bonavista, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty solid and impressive history for sure.
Yeah.
So, like when you were a kid, did you grow up in that Bonavista area, or was it more so Clarenville?
Clarenville, but both sides of my mom and dad's family are from Champneys East and Champneys West, so I was very familiar with the area, and I guess just always had a liking to this kind of lifestyle, just going out, and every Sunday we would head to Champneys, and for summers vacations we would always head out to Champneys East, and we had a cabin there, and we would spend weeks on end and just on the back beach, just fooling around as kids. And even like I guess the foraging part was always there. You know, you're out either picking berries or you're on the beach kind of scavenging and finding things, and you know, icebergs. And I guess icebergs weren't as popular because I didn't look at them at the same. You know, they were majestic and they were there, but it wasn't something that I could think of as a resource. I could tap into that and make something, a product out of that. That wasn't the mindset. But yeah, and then just back and forth from Clarenville, and you know, we were a close family. Like our gatherings were pretty big. Like everybody was there every Sunday. It was just, which was fun, you know, a little different. I find these days where, you know, families aren't as tight as that. You know, everybody's spread out a little differently, but we just made that effort. And every Sunday we went down, and I don't know how my grandmother did it, how she just kept up with all the traffic and all the people. And then there would be neighbors there. So it was kind of fun and interesting. Yeah.
Definitely. Grandma is definitely probably the biggest organizer of the crew.
For sure. Yeah.
So, because I guess before you got into skincare, your background also dabbles a little bit in the culinary side of things.
That's correct. Yeah. So, you know, I always knew I wanted to cook. I think that was a given. I always ended up, no matter what job I did. My first job was at McDonald's in Clarenville, which was interesting. But even that, even at that point, that was just, I was still in high school, but I kind of like the idea of a kitchen and the rhythms and the mechanics behind it and the structure. Um, and then after that, every job that I did that wasn't directly related to culinary, I found myself designing menus. I worked at a mental health facility in Iqaluit, and I was coordinating the meals and ordering the food and cooking. And it just felt very comfortable for me. And even though I wasn't qualified or, you know, had a diploma or a certificate, I just felt that I was always in that moment and, you know, sharing. And I guess maybe that's looking what we just said before. It's like that Sunday dinner, you know, that relationship of sharing of food and celebrating something. So that's kind of how it all happened. You know, my second stint in the Nova Scotia in Halifax, you know, I was getting up there. I was like 28 years old, and I said, well, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to go to culinary school, and I did a 2-year program out of NSCC in Dartmouth, and I really just grabbed onto it. It was something that again, maybe it was the age, maybe it was the right timing for me, but it was something that I just really liked and gravitated to, and I want all in. I wanted it all, right? So after graduating, we decided to move back to Clarenville, and there was an option to work in a restaurant, and the individual that I did my apprenticeship under, the same attitude, you know, thinking about local and ingredients and how to create and keep people interested. And I guess that's where, you know, the connection to skincare, when I was working at the College of the North Atlantic as a cook instructor, driving back and forth from Bonavista to Clarenville before we opened up. And this is like during the time that we were just dabbling in it for family and friends, and for our family, my daughter. You know, I was always scoping out ingredients in this area on my drive, and I see an iceberg. I said, okay, what can I do with that for a catering gig? And I made the other instructor that we would commute together with, Chris Shepard. I said, pull over, and I'm going to grab that iceberg if you don't mind. I'm going to put it in the back of your car, and he didn't care. So I brought it home, and it was for a catering gig. I said, okay, I'm going to make some specialty drinks and have this big chunk of iceberg, and maybe that's the wow factor. But I brought it home, and my wife stole it on me, and she's like, we're going to make soap out of this. And I said, what? I was like, really? And she said, why not? We're using distilled water. It's pure water. It has such a cool concept. And she stole my iceberg. So then we started making products out of icebergs, and then it really became a very addictive, looking for burgie bits that were manageable throughout that whole, you know, March till July moment. I just became very addicted to looking for icebergs on beaches wherever I was. Yeah.
Now, what's the difference there? Like distilled water, regular water, tap water, iceberg water? Because I'm sure you probably get some skeptics who are like, man, like, what are you guys getting on with here? Like that, there's no difference. Water's water.
Well, I mean, distilled water is pure water. There's no additives, or it's just distilled. It's distilled. It's water that is that's pure. An iceberg water, obviously it's been floating around, and it's been around for tens of thousands of years, but it is pure. It's not before the industrial era, so that it is pure, and it does get filtered through the individual that we do buy it. So it's just even more cautious for us, where our product is natural and we use natural preservatives. That's sometimes the information that we can't really get across always, that we don't have creams or anything that you can put your hand in multiple times. It's either by a pump, the soap obviously cleans itself every time, so that's a little different. Either it's a pump or a foam, something like that. But there's never anything that you're going to take a dirty hand, or maybe that's not so clean, and take out cream, put it on your face. Tomorrow you're going to do the same thing. Our preservatives do work very well, but they don't lend themselves to exposure to bacteria. And tap water is another thing that we wouldn't recommend like using for our products, because it just doesn't allow there's just a lot of bad things in tap water at times. It's not something that we do drink it, but for something that we're using as a cosmetic for shelf life for a year, it would not be a good thing for sure. So that's why the distilled, something that is pure, that we can control that moment, and then the expiry date allows it to get to that moment.
You just blew my mind. I've been using products my whole life, and I didn't even realize that. Like, yeah, okay, there's definitely some sanitary issues with like those like kind of lotion containers where you stick your hand in, you wash, you do whatever with it, then you're putting your hand back in there again.
Yeah. Well, see, most companies, well, not most companies, companies that aren't natural, they're using heavy preservatives, so
Mhm.
which are mostly not great for you. So that's why it's okay. There wouldn't be any issue. It would take some time for them to become an issue for you. But for our products and anybody that's doing natural, you got to be careful of that, right? So we are, even if it was a spoon or something that you could clean afterwards and then put the cap back on and do that again tomorrow, even that's a better than say just right out of your hand. Because especially we're thinking about COVID in these days, we're a little cautious of that, but we've always thought that way, that we want this product to be the same the day that you bought it to the day that we say that it's no longer no good.
That is so cool, honestly. I've always kind of recognized the expiry dates with like natural products, but really associating a concept to that is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Well, again, it's just quality. We just want it to always be the same experience, the first time you use it to the last time you use it. And that's the only way that we can control that, as far, making sure that everybody is getting that same experience, is to allow it either contain it, or don't even give it as an option. It's not even an option to do that.
So now when you're moving from the culinary scene to the skincare aspect of everything, take me through the earlier days of East Coast Glow and how it looked like, because you're starting to get feedback because you're only making it for family and friends. So now at some point it kind of clicks like, hey, we have something here.
Yeah. So, we're both working full time. I was working, a crazy amount of hours. And like I said, I went for it. I love the culinary industry and the scene. I still do, but I really dove in deep, and my wife was busy. We had our second child. So we were busy as a family, a new home, and you're just trying to find your rhythms. Karen was making, and I was assisting with it. My role wasn't, again, when it was smaller, Karen was dabbling around, and she would be the first one to tell you that she made a lot of bad soap at the beginning. But just like any recipe, you have to keep on building it, right? It's not, you're never going to get it right the first time. You design it, you build it, you try different things, you do research, you find better quality ingredients, and it just makes the product better. So as we were going about our development, I helped organize a culinary event in this area, and we had an opportunity to showcase. And this was one of our biggest moments. Like, this was a big wow factor for us. We've never done any shows. We've never sold it as such. And I said to Karen, I said, like, let's go down and be one of the vendors and see what happens. I mean, there's an audience. We had like 500-600 people. There was an audience there. Probably a high percentage of people that would love this product, that would really gravitate to it. So we showed up on Saturday, and we did great. I must say, it was a good response. People bought it. They loved it. They loved the designs of the soap, the smells, the idea, the concept. Shortly after that, we were like, okay, that was one day, and we just did that. Do we have something here? You know, and we've already heard from family and friends, oh my God, we love it. This is great. But when you had the other audience, you know, strangers saying that this was something and they loved it, we kind of thought, well, do we have something here? Is this something that we can really bring to market and make make it something that it isn't right now? So as we kept on rolling through, the conversation came from John Norman, because I was working at the college. He was at the college at that time. And he said, you know, there might be an opportunity. There's some development happening on Church Street. We want to give it more life, get some, you know, local producers in here. What do you think? And at first I was like, I wasn't sure, you know, like, it was a big change. It meant, you know, how were we going to do this? There was no map. And we held off a little bit, and then he came again and mentioned that, you know, there was another business that was interested, that was in a similar area of cosmetics as us. And we both looked at each other, and my wife and I, and we said, if we don't do this now, then we're probably going to kick ourselves next year, 2 years time. So we just dove in. We said, yeah, we signed it. They were providing a beautiful space, which was the easy part, because that was their work and we had something to promote. And then we just put our heads down. I think that was like October, and we knew that the season was going to open maybe May. I think that was the tentative date of 2016. And we just put our head down and working full time, back and forth, doing tests, changing. We rebranded at that point. We decided, okay, because the original brand was something that we did on Vistaprint or what have you, very generic. And we said, okay, we're gonna try this out. You know, packaging had to be tighter, formulas had to work, had to be better, and a variety of options had to be better. You know, we at that current time, we didn't have bath bombs, we didn't have lotion, we just did soap, lip balm, and bath salts. I think that was the three things that we were selling or giving away or whatever. And the Miracle Balm, which was one of our first products, the salve. And 2016, it came fast. And then we Karen took a leave from her full-time job, because that was the only way to really make this happen a reality. And my job, I'm fortunate that as an instructor, I get my summers off. So I knew that I could get that moment. I would have a couple months off. And we moved down. We just closed the house in Clareville. And fortunately, there was a space above the shop. It was a 1-bedroom, mind you, but we decided, let's make it a 2-month camping trip. And let's live upstairs in a 1-bedroom and open up the store. And to be very honest with you, we didn't do our market research. We said, let's just try this. It was just to test the waters again. We opened the door and we got a great response, not just with tourists. Tourists I didn't see as much, but local response was phenomenal. People were showing up. There was lots of local faces. And again, I was very familiar 3 years after working in Bonavista. I got to know the town, the community, and the people within it. So I knew the support was there. I knew that they were hungry for something, some changes. And the other addition was that there was 5 other businesses that were opening, either the same time or a little before or a little after. And it just made it a little more safe. It felt like a safe play because we were all pushing for that same traffic to come and see. And it became almost like, oh, wow, what's happening in Bonavista? And there was a bit of a noise there. That's kind of it. We had a great season. We worked hard. We worked a lot of hours. And of course you had to, because it was just me and Karen. But the convenience of living on site, more or less, was really a help for that moment. And then we, as at the same time, Port Rexon Brewery opened at the same time. So there was a lot of push in these directions that made people want to come out, and another reason to come and spend another day and check out and see what was happening. And we had some great feedback, which was cool. And then, like you said, the tourists were a bonus, and we didn't even realize that Bonavista had that kind of action happening, or previously happening to the extent that it was.
Mm-hmm. Now, just for context for people who may not understand, because somebody was actually mentioning to me about that, like, revitalization of a certain community or housing in Bonavista. Can you provide more context there in that realm? Exactly, kind of what happened in the program, I guess it was.
So, Bonavista Living, Bonavista Creative, that's a organization that started to buy older homes, but not just any home. The home had to have, it seemed like the home had a story, a builder, a maker, a window maker, somebody that was in the community that was driven by creating. And that's kind of what I feel the story was. So John bought these, and his company and his partners bought these homes and flipped them into businesses, but kept them very original, or brought them back to the original structures, colors. Even the color schemes on the front of the buildings were very similar. Kept a lot. If there were historic properties, they kept some of the old beams and the staircases, and just freshed them up and made them a little more usable. But it added to the story. And then the homes that they built to allow people to come in, the salt box houses and those structures. Again, it was just a whole story to be told. So I would just remember our first year, when people would come in, they would look at the stained glass windows and the door frames. And I had something to sell besides soap. I could tell the story that, all these windows they're made right here, just down the street, by local individuals, the stained glass windows, the floors, the trims, the building itself, everything was made right here. And that was an easy story for me to relate. And people really were, wow, really? That's amazing. And it just sparked a conversation. It encouraged sales for sure. I mean, again, you just continue to build this story of who we were and how we were moving forward. Yeah, it just seemed almost unreal, really.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that, because it's so true with a lot of businesses and products. For the most part, your quality control is one thing, but the story that you tell and depict is a whole other thing that can elevate you to a tremendous game.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And then the town itself has so many stories and visuals. There's certain points of the town that you can say, well, the Garrick Theater, or it's the courthouse, or you just go on and on, that it just makes you feel really good, quaint, and very walkable. So the thing that we found interesting, our first year, we would just open the front door, and it was summer, and why not? We'd open the door, but people would just come on in. They would smell the soap, and they said, my God, we had to come in and see what is going on. And then they would buy soap. So that even that was fun and really just organic. It just kind of happened. And, you know, it made it a lot easier and a lot more comfortable for us to make more decisions as we were growing as a business.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm kind of making the assumption here, but I'm assuming you probably seen a better local response than a tourism response in the initial beginnings. Because I guess when you're traveling, like for myself, I'm just thinking like, yeah, I'm not really wanting to put like some lotions or bottles in my bag and then fly back to wherever I'm going for the potential that it burst open and stuff like that. Do you think that was kind of played a part in it?
It did play a part in it, yeah. What we did, because of my culinary experience and connections, right away we started putting our product into restaurants, into the brewery. We made a Port Wrexham beer soap made it with their beer. We understood quickly, and maybe due to my culinary experiences, that local was very important. Collaborations were very important. Working with others to get through a moment, for both sides, both partners, was very good. You're sharing a story, you're sharing a product, a developed product. We could talk about the brewery. Have you been down to Port Rexton? Oh no, I don't. It's down here. They've amazing beer. Da 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 da. Have you been to the Bonavista Vista Social Club? With the social club, they were driving traffic to us because people were going in and washing their hands. Where can I buy this? Staff and Chef Katie would say, just down on Church Street, check them out. Great place. And that introduced you because you had a free trial. Like you said, you may not have known about us, but now you're in the washroom after you had a pint and you just tried the soap and said, wow, I need this. And where can I find it? So that opened a lot of doors too, of how we, helped each other get through the early stages of our business, which was fun. Again, right? Cooperating and sharing each other's story. And again, it's just a sellable point.
Hopefully not too many pints, and then maybe you accidentally take a bite out of the soap as opposed.
Right. Yeah.
Now you mentioned
we've had lots of people. We've had teeth marks in soap. We used to have our soap naked, not in boxes, and we would wrap it in tissue paper. That was our first year, and there was a few bite marks. I must say, I hope it was smaller children, but you never know. Yeah.
Now you mentioned living up above the shop in the early days and how it was kind of like a 2-month camping trip or whatnot. And obviously, that's not going to be all good times in those 2 months. When
Right.
you were seeing kind of early challenges, I guess what initially were they and how were you guys kind of responding to combat them?
Well, the challenges were, it was just us and we got busy. I remember going into the store, and it was a small storefront, no doubt, but it was like 12, 13 people in there and you couldn't move. You felt very claustrophobic and like, oh my, but exciting all at once. So it was just myself and Karen doing the production, any of the marketing, working the shop. We did close 1 day a week, I feel, but that just felt like another day just to catch up. So it was kind of that moment. And again, a lot of new. So some of those challenges were just learning by trial and error. Like, well, that didn't work, or geez, I didn't know about that. I didn't know we had to do this, or stuff like that. The challenge, the kids loved it. That was a bit tricky because the balance of, at that point, I think the kids were 7 and 5 or 6 and 4. So they were quite young, and they would come out and help out a little bit, and no expectations of them to do a lot of work, but trying to balance to make sure the family was taken care of, that their needs were met. But the interesting part was we love the outdoors. So going out and foraging and getting old man's beard, or getting river mint, going down to the beach and just playing around icebergs and grabbing a bit and bringing back was all part of work, but fun work. It wasn't like I didn't feel like I was on the clock. I had my family with me, but we were still getting what we needed for the shop. So the balance was kind of tricky sometimes, and especially if we were open and what to do with them. So obviously somebody had to take care of the children, someone had to work the shop, and just flipping around and balancing that. The issue became is when the college, I didn't get back at the college. So the plan kind of went a little south come August month. I was expecting, okay, we'll move to Bonavista. So this is going to be great. The business is doing well. We've already lived here now for 2 months. Let's move to Bonavista and see how that goes. I didn't return back to the college. There was low enrollment into the program. The full-time instructor had his job, so my job just became obsolete. That was a bit of a shock. And now what? So we moved back to Clarenville, and we had no shop no more. Like the shop was here. Were we going to commute back and forth? That didn't make any sense. So we just decided to shorten the season. And again, we thought we had a good 2.5, 3 month good kickstart. But how to continue this momentum that we had? Fortunately, I found a job within the Clarenville area right away, which was great. But our eye was 2017. Okay, what are we going to do in 2017? How are we going to make this work? So there's always some challenges when you are obviously not living in the town that you have a business. So that became a bit of a stressful moment. But we saw it through, and and continue to grow and to produce and please people. We hope we please people with our products. But those were kind of the tricky things. But again, having the moment of working outdoors with my family was always a fun and is a fun thing. It seems like it's not work.
Hmm. I'm curious too, because that community of entrepreneurs, in a sense, in that area. You touched on it slightly, how Chef Katie at the Bonavista Social Club helps, and Port Rex and Brewing, you guys are always there. I'm sure there was kind of a support system within that group through those times as well.
For sure. I mean, we all get along and we all support each other and express through our customers their business. So when you have that sense of camaraderie and you feel like someone has your back and support, then it just makes every other decision a little more easier. And again, once you're in the busy part of the season, it seems to be a little more comfortable when you can run down to the brewery and have a break, or go to the Bonavista Social Club and have a pizza. You're supporting them as well. So you just get this feedback, and oh, people love it. Oh, geez, this is great. And you just kind of create those networks, and in your traveling, you never know who you're going to bang into, and there's another connection, or there's another resource, right?
Now, take me through essentially when you kind of discovered, like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, was this something that you've always kind of strived to be in the younger ages, or?
I don't think so. I know when we lived in Halifax, that was for like, a couple stints, a total of 8 years, I think. I went to university there. My wife was as well. And we always thought like an entrepreneur, I think, for some time. What about this idea? What about making this? What about doing that? We never acted on them. And that's why, like, when the soap came along, we actually had something tangible that we had. It wasn't just an idea. So when the decision came, that's why I said, like, we said, well, either we're going to do it, because previous years we didn't act and we didn't commit or get a product going or what have you. And, a few years later, just like every idea, someone else is going to do it. And then you're like, shoot, I should have done that. I missed that window.
Mhm.
And we're the type of people that I don't want to step on no one's toes. So if I can do it, I'm going to do it the best that I can. but I'm definitely not going to go over here and take your idea and kind of make it mine. That's not my theme at all. I don't want that. So if I lost the opportunity, I lost the opportunity. So in Halifax and even in Iqaluit, we thought about a lot of ideas that, for it could have been food products. We had a dog, so we were thinking about a lot of different dog ideas. And again, through our diet and health, I was just, we were thinking of different vegetarian products and stuff like that. But we never acted on it. And Karen's parents, they've owned a number of businesses, and we've kind of could bounce ideas off them as well. And that became kind of brainstorming. So I guess not early, but in our mid 20s or so, we kind of had those moments of like, oh, we should do this, or hey, what about that? And that was always fun to do, but just never really acted on it until this moment.
Are you glad you acted?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's been a lot of work. I'm teaching a course now in the culinary school, and we are creating a culinary significant product, something that's cultural, significant, and culinary. And as I teach it and we talk about it, it's a lot of work. Like it's not something that you're just going to whip up, right? If you want to do it right, there's a lot of work involved. And I tell everybody, it's like, this is tremendous amount of work. And even like I have a student that's working for me right now, and she came in and has been doing some production and some packaging. And she's like, there is so many steps here that I would never think of when I pick up this item and buy it. I would never thought of that. And there is, I mean, when you have something that you have to take a raw ingredient, make it, package it, market it, put it to the customer, there's multiple steps that as a consumer, sometimes we don't think about those because we're so used to just buying it off the shelf and that's it. It's the thought is gone. But yeah, it's been worth it. Just keep on plugging, just keep on going.
No, it's funny because it seems to be the story of everything, right? Is you really don't see the process of what goes into each thing. Even I was watching a video or whatnot, maybe listening to a podcast. I forget what it was, but more or less it's this video creator who, went from, the 9 to 5 and then turned into his own like photography company. And he just said so nonchalantly, he's like, yeah, I got away from that classic old 9 to 5 that everybody's dreads and whatnot for about 14-hour days, 7 days a week.
This is true. Yeah. It's like all the time, right? You're on all the time. Yeah. And that was my wife's story. I mean, she was a 9 to 5 and she was going in the office and doing that. And, but she's worked probably way more hours than that, like just constant, and it never ends because you are where it starts and where it ends. For the most part, there's a lot of decision making and there's a lot of jobs. You have to wear a lot of hats. And in the culinary world, that was told to me from day one, and I kind of project that to my students. Like it is a lot of jobs, and so I kind of knew that this was going to be a lot of work, but like you said, it did pay off, and it is worth it. And the whole scope of it, anyways, was at the beginning was to help people, and with issues, whether that was skin issues and eczema, and that's kind of why we started the product was we had to help our daughter, and we couldn't source the medications that were helping enough that we were satisfied with it, right? So when we hear people come back and say, well, I use this salve or I use this soap and it's gone, my issue on my hands or wherever it doesn't exist anymore. I love to hear that, because that's why we started this. It wasn't about how much dollars I can make today. It was about how to help those individuals. And that's something too, you can share really quickly with a story. Well, I have something here. What do you have for this? So it makes you feel good. And in the end of the day.
No, yeah, I'm curious because you've mentioned other, like the stories and the window makers with the shop and whatnot, sometimes people don't recognize how incredible their own story is. You must, like, hey, that's a special story, like you guys, and you've created a product that, initially you wanted to help your daughter with, and now it's grown into this where you're now able to help a lot of people. Do you recognize how great of a job you're doing, Roger?
Well, I don't know. We just, like, again, we kind of shy away sometimes. Last few years from it, we just, we're just head down and doing our work. But again, I don't know if you call it our inspiration, but I just remember coming down because I worked at the Bonavista Social Club for a couple summers just to help Katie out during some times there. And I would come home and I would say to Karen, I would say, geez, wow, you have to, like, be here. It's just so magical. Like, people show up, they're all happy. The view is, like, amazing. The food is great. Well, we need some of that. We need, how do we get that? But the funny thing is, it looks easy standing there, but when you get into it, is definitely not an easy task. Like you said, there's so many different avenues and so many different tasks and responsibilities, and the things that you think were, the bright sunny day, it becomes a little more, oh wow, this is work. And I do have to clock in now, and I'm working till 12, and I'm working 7 days a week, and my kids are over here, but I still got to do this. So there's just a lot of different avenues and different things that you have to think about when you get into it. But again, lead by example, and hopefully that's why people like our product. We just, we get out there and we try to support the community and make sure that our customers are always took care of and number one for us.
Well, I mean, you're certainly doing a great job, and it was cool for me to kind of see your passion really thrive when I got to look at it firsthand when I, went on that foraging trip with you.
Nice. Yeah.
And for me, that was really cool because, and yeah, like, you're not really turning everything off. I mean, we were kind of driving around for each specific spot, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, hey, do you mind if I stop here to take a look at this? Because,
Yeah.
it was like river mint or something like that. That was really
Yeah.
blessing. When do you turn that off, or does that never turn off? You're just driving down and you're like, oh, that might.
It's kind of crazy. Is I have turned it off a little more lately in the last year or so, but there for a while, and like I said, even commuting as when I was teaching at the college, those years prior to the business, as a cook, I was scoping out things. Wow, okay, I just spotted an apple tree, and I didn't know that apple tree existed. As far as the forage items, like on our commutes back and forth to Clarenville, we would take I forget the route 235, the other one that goes down by Katie's, like the back on the ocean. I think it's route 235, or anyways. I would take that route, and there's a lot of old abandoned houses and properties and stuff like that. But the cool thing is, all those places have lilacs. They all have wildflowers. They all have roses. And I would stop, and maybe people wouldn't be too happy, but I would stop and I would fill the car up with lilacs, and I would fill it up with roses and daisies. But I'd be scoping, and I would have them in my head. I would never write them down, but I would know, okay, I know next June when the flowers bloom, that's where I'm heading. And like, even on an old part of our property in Champneys East from my grandfather and my family's property, beautiful lilac tree there. There was golden raspberries, there's strawberries. There's so many things that I didn't see as a kid when I was there. I didn't, because I guess it didn't matter. It wasn't important to me. But now my eyes are everywhere on things, and associate with a lot of individuals that do this for a living, and I get points and tips from them, and where to go and how to find it and what time of the year. But another interesting thing that I found when we were commuting from Clarenville to Bonavista, very strange how the seasons all are different. So we'll say lilacs in Clarenville are bloomed in June, early June, but I can pick lilacs in Champneys East in August. It's so bizarre. So I have there's a path that you can follow, and I can still source ingredients for a number of months rather than just that one moment. So that's a cool thing about Newfoundland too. It's just very every hour you break down, it's like it stretches the season a little further, which is kind of cool.
Now, where in the world are you learning this stuff to? Because I think, and the reason I even say it like that is because a big realization for me, where it was just like, man, this guy knows everything about like all these different, um, like grassroots and weeds and whatnot. Like, you were just like, hey, like take a look at this, and it was the pineapple weed, and it's essentially something that I don't know if everybody knows exactly what it is just from mentioning it. So the little green stick with the yellow buds circles, basically, that kind of grow out of your driveway, that as a kid I just yank out and pluck all the time and spend so much time. But you were like, hey, like check this out, and like when you rub it together with your fingers or whatnot, like you get this huge aroma of pineapple, which was just something that like was mind blowing to me, because I'm like, this is something that I've plucked out of the driveway. Yeah. And dad basically hires somebody or goes out and does it himself to haul these things out, and here it is, you're playing with it, and it's a beautiful aroma and smell.
Yeah, well, when we first, again, a lot of the culinary, farm to table, local, I worked on a number of events that traveled through the province that it provided local ingredients. And that was the whole theme of the event was, it was called From This Rock. And, we sourced all local ingredients within that area, that if we were in Gander or if we were in, Twillingate, it was all local. There were, besides the pantry sugar, cream, milk, and flour, but all the proteins, all the produce, all the garnishes, they were all local. So I got really involved in and excited. It was almost like, this is, obviously we paid for quality produce, but the more I got to learn was that this is all growing here, and it's for the taking, with, reasonable. You're not going to strip it clean, but it's all there. So seaweeds and pineapple weed, the icebergs, the edible flowers or just flowers in general, Labrador tea. Like, we have an abundance. Newfoundland is like a carpet of everything that you can imagine, that is just there for whatever. Mushrooms, it's all there. The thing is, you got to kind of find your places and remember them, and and return and do it sustainably. You're not going to just pick it clean, like I said, but respect it and then come back to it. And again, I have a number of friends that do this for a living, and they excite me, and we use them for foragers, and then I get a tip or two, and then I continue to learn and grow. And it's a big part of what we do, and it's part of our story. And it's interesting for what our side of the business is, to develop products based around foraging. Yeah.
Be honest with me. Were you that kid at recess eating flowers?
No, I didn't do that. No, I was eating. I was probably eating the sticks and the cheese and crackers, the red sticks, right? Chewing on them, but no flowers.
No flowers.
No.
So take me through the creative process now, because some of your soaps are wild in the sense of you got avocados, you got beers, iceberg soap, and things like that. Where are you really, I guess, accumulating these ideas to, and how do you go from the drawing board to now it's in your washroom?
Well, again, Karen is the designer on this. I have some input, but she is definitely the creative mind on the soap designs. And some of them they've stuck from day one with some minor altercation. We just change a little bit. Some she just changes every batch. They're the same ingredients, but just the designs, like you said, they're organic. They just happen. Some she'll sketch out and she'll look at it. Currently with our new line, she's been using a lot of different tools, and it all takes time, though. It's not like, we can pour a batch of soap and it can be purple. That would be very easy. Is it unique? Not really. A lot of people say that our soap, they don't even want to use it, which I like to hear, but at the same time, I want you to use the soap so you can buy more. But we love that. We're very artistic as a family. We're both very involved in not arts and crafts, but I've always enjoyed art and taking any aspect and using my hands. And same with Karen. And the ingredients help with that as well, and the design. They just come out of, you're right. A couple of them, we just put our heads down and said, how do we want this to look? Like the big land. The point of that is to create the northern light, the skyline. And that was how we're going to do that in a bar of soap. And that's how it kind of just happens sometimes. But moving forward with the new rebrand, we have some really cool, more their precise designs. They'll be very similar throughout the whole bar. Sometimes you'll get a bar of soap with a heart in it. That might happen in every 2,000 bars of soap. I can't promise you that. But the new line coming out, it's going to be some consistencies with the soap. So that's kind of cool too.
You mentioned the rebrand. What do you think is key for businesses, especially in locations of like rural Newfoundland, to really expand and grow?
For us, we looked at it as an opportunity. We always wanted to be eco-friendly, environmental friendly. We're a vegan company, all natural. So in our brand story and in our vision, we wanted to, we use plastics and they are recyclable, but just not here in Newfoundland, which is unfortunate because that's where we have our business. So with the rebrand, we decided that this is something that we need to really set and be a leader in that area. So we switched over to glass, we switched to aluminum, and we switched to paper tube. No more plastic. And even our plastic pump now, we're up in the upcoming season. We have it now, but we haven't launched it. You can return your plastic pump into a recycling bin that we send to Toronto, and they upcycle it back into a number of products. There's a fee associated with that, but we respect that. We want to give you that option. If we say that we are something, we want to be it 100%. It's not halfway again. We want to be it 100%. And we want to be leaders in that. We don't want to be chasing that. We want to continue to push it and always be least in the head of the pack in all those directions. The rebrand, again, we created some products that we've always wanted to do, just never had the time. The whole idea of the rebrand was to reduce the amount of work. But we've keep on coming with new products, and it sometimes is a little overwhelming. So we decided to release in waves. We're still waiting on some packaging. Just COVID has put a bit of a spin in some things, and some label packages. So there's lots of time to get everything out. Our concern is that if you did like something, and we're currently not making it, how do you get that when we can't give it to you? So, we hope that customers understand that, it's just a strange time that we are right now, but we will definitely get that product back to you sooner than later. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess it's interesting. You're almost at the mercy of the land in terms of your inventory for certain products.
Yeah. So we thought about with this rebrand to let's just do seasonal things, almost like a restaurant would with their menu. So, when you look at Katie at the social club, they grow asparagus. It pops up in the spring. And and the asparagus grow in the spring, and she has a window of like 3 weeks maybe, and then there's no asparagus, which is perfectly cool, right? If you want it, then you go down and get it. And we thought about doing similar of that. The issue lays sometimes is that the top sellers are those seasonal items. So we have to source as much as possible. So river mint, anything mint is top seller. We source as much as possible, dry it, and same with same as the lavender. Lavender we source from Mike Patterson, which is Katie's dad, and which is kind of cool what we've been doing. We just barter. We just trade soap for lavender. It's great. It works well for me, and he doesn't have no need for the lavender, and we don't mind making a batch of soap and sending it up. It's amazing.
Now, you mentioned the environmental impact and how you've kind of taken that turn on your products and stuff like that. And, you know, the vegan concept with the soaps and bath bombs. Obviously in these times, it's super important to be as environmentally cautious as you possibly can. I'm curious though, for you guys, why does that resonate for like your company and what you stand for?
Well, we just want to put an impact. We want to make sure that we're doing our part. Like you just said, the world has changed. We are changing, and, every day. And there's, sometimes it's a little slower than we hope it to be, but we definitely want, as our business, to be a part of that change, of that process. We want our children to feel that same and have those same values. And, if our example can help others to see it, or then that's amazing. That's all part of it. We're about to release refill stations at a couple wholesalers in St. John's, that you can go and refill your liquid soap. Shampoo and conditioner has already been offered in previous years. So just that whole idea of just upcycling and refilling, and it is what's happening. So why not get on board? Like, I don't want my customer to ask me, well, why aren't you doing this yet? I want to give it to them before they have that opportunity. And it's just a value that we see, when we lived in Halifax, a very cautious city, and we got used to that, using your bags at the grocery store, and yeah, it just makes sense to me. So it's just a value that we kind of put into our business as well. Our structure and how we want to see our customers respond to it is exactly part of the process as well. They respect that. I mean, change sometimes is difficult when you go from something that's very convenient as plastic, but you got to adapt and change, and it's all good for everybody, for the planet and for the business.
Now, you've talked about your kids. I'm curious because there always sometimes is this pressure to take over the family business. Do you see this being something for them? I'm curious about your thought process there with all that.
I think it used to work. We would say, we're doing this for you. But I don't know. I don't think I think they're a little young to really understand exactly. They know that we work a lot and that we put everything that we got into it. We let them know that, one day, if you want, it continues, this could be yours. If you want it, we can set it up like that. But the cool thing that we do as well with our kids, when we bring them in and they help sometimes, whether that's like just labeling or if it's packaging or doing the dishes, they like to help out as much as possible. It's short attention, but it happens. But yeah, as far as that, like I like to see them with other growth as well. So, this summer basketball was a big deal. So that's kind of cool too, to watch. We're not thinking about work always or talking about it. Let's just go out and shoot hoops for an hour and just relax and chill and see them grow in different ways. So that's kind of interesting too. Doesn't always got to be about work. We try to, this year, New Year's resolution is to, focus on work, but leave it somewhere else when it's time, and move away from it a little bit.
Yeah, no, almost keep it in that framework of a 9 to 5.
Yeah, or 9 to 9.
9 to 9, not 9 to 11. Yeah, no,
right. Yeah. It's it's all part of it. There's going to be things that come up, but we got to, as a team, myself and my wife, we need to be able to delegate and develop a team a little more so that we can continue doing what we do very well and let someone else that's qualified to do the other stuff. So again, that whole learning curve on a business and owning your own business. I've heard it from many business owners, like, do what you do very well and allow someone else to do the stuff that you can't do or can't focus on, or, you don't have time for that because you're going to lose your edge on what you've been doing very well with.
Mhm. No, it's such a true point. I mean, honestly, for me, I'm not in the skincare business, but
Yeah.
it's still the similar things, and I'm resonating with a lot of what you're saying in terms of the long hours and that factor of it. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, like, I love all of this so much, but where I get drained is the parts where it's not really my initial skill set or what I truly love, right? So, I love chatting with people, I love telling stories, I love kind of having that personality and showcasing and filming. But then when
Mhm.
it steps back and we hang up, and now all of a sudden I got to go through all this and piece
Got
it
to edit.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm just like, oh, and the clock starts ticking, and you're looking at it, and it's like, oh, it's
It's
3
gone.
3 a.m. comes fast.
Yeah. Yeah. That is and again, that's the part that people don't really understand or see sometimes, but it's good to, if that's why I guess social media now with videos and processes, it's good to kind of see what happens behind the scenes sometimes, because you really can't appreciate it until it's there and you see it's like, wow, that's how I get that product, and from all that to here, and you just respect it, and then maybe that price point isn't as scary anymore, right?
Mm. Well, no, it's interesting because, yeah, like you mentioned with social media, a buddy of mine, he owns a housing service company in Ottawa. So, like, you can hire him to install your Christmas lights, or fix your driveway and tire your driveway
Cool.
and stuff like that, right? And he's been
Hmm.
doing really well, and has got some big goals. I had him on my other podcast because he's also a pro hockey player, like used to be. He's moved on and fixated. But it's funny what you mentioned with social media, and basically he uploaded the video on TikTok of him, like, in his company tiring a driveway, and the
Oh,
process was super satisfying. And it's like, people are almost like resonating with that. Before, it was almost like you see the finished product and you're like, wow. Now you see the process and you're like, oh, this is really cool too. And like, it hits on a level. It's got, like, what's crazy too is it had like 13 million views.
go away. Go on. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's literally, him and, like, his company tiring a driveway.
Yeah. There you go. But
I
I guess it's like you said, it's the process. You get lost in a process, and yeah, that's amazing.
Now, with everything, kind of happening and going on, you almost are in a good industry for, because everybody's more cautious with, like, cleanliness, sanitizing, and that realm of things. How have you
Mhm.
kind of seen, I guess, the fluctuating with just COVID-19 and whatnot?
First, when it hit in March, early March, we did see an increase in our web sales for sure. I mean, soap bars and the liquid soap was selling really good, and but the thing is, we knew, we couldn't, no one could foresee COVID. So, but as it was moving along, we had some issues, and the issues that we ran out of packaging, and the packaging that we use, we were about to transition, like I said, with the rebrand with all glass and aluminum, but
Mhm.
that was a beginning phase. Um, but at the point when COVID hit, I think it was March 13th, we called suppliers right away because we didn't have a lot of inventory, because we were kind of keeping it low so that we can transition really quickly into the glass. Um, and when March 13th hit, we called suppliers that are very reliable. Everything was sold out, from a 1 ounce bottle to a 10 or 12 ounce bottle, every different shape, size, completely sold out on several wholesalers that we use. So we knew we were in trouble then, because we couldn't source any plastic bottles, and we knew people wanted soap, but we couldn't give it to you. So that was becoming a bit of a struggle. And this went on till, went on till October. We still couldn't, they would extend their expectations, like, okay, it started with May, we'll have the bottles in May. May went to June, June went to August, August went to November, and so on. So, the process, that was kind of hard. So we see an impact of increased sales? We could have, if we had something to sell you. But we did not. It kind of was a strange summer. A good summer for us, as far as taking it a little easier and a different way to look at our season. But from a customer standpoint, it must have been frustrating because they couldn't get what they needed from us that they were used to getting. But we couldn't make it happen. It was impossible. It just didn't exist. And, when we would talk to our customers about this topic, we would say, well, we couldn't source any plastics, which was, about 80% of our line was in a plastic bottle, and all top sellers. But suppliers would say either production just stopped because of COVID, or production has been, of that packaging has been taken over for hand sanitizer. So hand sanitizer obviously became a big hot commodity, and everybody was looking for a bottle to put it in, or the ramping up of production. So there's kind of a strange concept that happened. We couldn't source it because everything was already spoken for, or production was directed to a different type of shaped bottle or what have you. And then other companies started making hand sanitizer. We thought about it as an opportunity that, yeah, we could have sold some hand sanitizer. But it just meant, again, we didn't have a bottle. So we couldn't even make the hand sanitizer to put in a bottle to sell it to you, because that could have made an opportunity for us as well, right? We did apply for the certification to do it, and we do have that, but we didn't act on it. It just seems like you can get sanitizer now anywhere, and it doesn't really fit our branding anyways, like what we're doing. So we just let that slide. But yeah, so it's interesting. But then as soon as the bottles came in, we hit the ground running, and thanks to our customers and wholesalers, sales went back up and people were happy. And so it's just been a number of waves up and down throughout this last year and into this year.
So when it's just you and your wife, you're now developing and moving into a spot where you're dealing with wholesale, man, I can't even say that word. Yeah.
Yes.
Wholesale.
Yeah.
And now also you're managing, student employees and other aspects of that. How are you combating that? Because now for the first time almost in your life, you're becoming a manager and having to direct somebody in a product, especially that you've designed and have such a finite vision for.
Well, again, if we hired students, the tricky part about a student is they're going to be gone. Like, they're only a short window. So there's only so much they're going to take. And, you got to look for the personality, I guess, is more so what you're looking for. We've been fortunate enough to have some good students come through and have some good employees. Our trick is now we have to keep you. You can't go back to school. We need to keep you. But telling the story again, having the history of us, of who we are and of the product. We created documentation, and we've always said to our employees, I don't want you to be aggressive. I don't want you to get out behind the counter and like force lotion on somebody. I don't want you to say, this is the best. Strike up the conversation, whether that's, where you from, how's your day, what's going on, and just allow it to happen organically. If they have any questions, ask them politely or what have you. So the training process is not aggressive. We're not sales people like that. We allow the product to speak for itself. And again, to get back to like the connection of getting to use the product. So we are fortunate enough to be in a number of B&Bs within this area within St. John's, within the island, people get to use it for part of your fee, of your room fee, whether that's lotion, conditioner, shampoo, soap, hand soap. And again, those are some of our top sellers. Then you come looking for me next time you're in Bonavista. Vista. So you've already had the opportunity to know the product. Now it's just a matter of that staff pointing you in that right direction and continuing that push of, yeah, well, that's great. That's good to hear. So, and we've always said, if you had to go to the binder with the descriptives, a little more detail of what each product is, there's no harm in that. I mean, I'd rather, as a customer, I've always said, I'd rather have a customer say, sorry, the phone just cut off. I'd rather have a customer ask a question and me have to, okay, I'm not quite sure, but I can get the right information for you, rather than just spew it out and it be completely wrong or a word off. And then that customer is kind of wondering, what did you say? Like, that don't make any sense. So, we try to teach and train people that, just be comfortable in your own skin and allow the conversation to happen organically, and just be as friendly and outgoing as possible. So it's been working well for us. We've lots of compliments and comments on our customer service, which is great. And that's what we strive for, is like just making sure that person's happy. I mean, if you come in with a broken pump, I'm not only probably not, I shouldn't be saying this because now everybody's coming in with a broken pump, but I'm not just going to give you a replacement pump. I'm probably going to give you another lotion. Like, I'm okay with that. I'd rather have you walk away and say, well, wow, that was impressive. Like, I thanks, you didn't have to do that. Or if there's a sample, we have something new out and I have a bunch of soap, or it's a bath bomb or what have you, it's in stock. Try that out today. If you're a frequent customer and I know you and I know that you're spreading it out there for me, that's been working for us too. It's just that word of mouth of, and that's not like I'm buying you. That's not what I want. But I want you to, here, try that. Like, what was it like? I feel that it's the least that I can do at that moment. Just try that out and check it out. Let us know how it is. It's almost like in a restaurant. Sometimes you have to give out samples and try this out, invite people in, and that wow factor and that moment speaks volumes at that time, right?
No, and I think as stuff like, especially with skincare, when it kind of becomes a maintaining factor in like your livelihood, there's a little bit of like reflection and pride in how you do almost like your skincare routine, or you kind of take care of your body in that aspect of things, right? So it's actually interesting because I mean, I grew up and it's just like skincare, like taking care of, like, wash your hands, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Obviously I wash my hands, but
Yeah.
you don't really make that a priority. And then as you get older, you tend to care about these things a little bit more, right? And it's like, from
Yeah.
me using your product, one thing I notice is like, oh, hey, when I wash my hands with like a bar of soap from East Coast Glow, because I know we've mentioned like skin issues and things like that, and while I don't have any of those, it's like, oh, hey, but I use your product, now all of a sudden my hands aren't irritated for the evening, and I'm not trying to find something else to kind of put on them, and
Yes.
whether it's a moisturizer or something, right? And it's
Yeah.
having that value. And now for myself, where it's like using your soap eliminates that inconvenience for myself, and especially in my line of work, your time is your most valuable asset. So now I can just go on and fixate and forget about it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna want to tell that to other people, especially my other peers that I take pride in, being like, hey, like, and like these guys are doing a great product, and like since I've been using them, like I've completely say cut out this time. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, we're talking about milliseconds and seconds here,
Yeah.
but it does add up, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess the whole point of it, like, we're right into a skin nightmare right now in winter. Everything dry and it cracks. And if you're using something that is going to encourage that in that season, then you probably should look for something else that's going to help it. So, again, we don't because we own it, but I don't even notice anymore. Like I do notice when my hands will get dry. I'm like, oh wow, this is what's going on here. This is weird. but you know, friends of ours or customers, they do get a little out there and when they're getting low, and it's like I need it. And that's why, you know, I'm apologizing because we don't have certain things in the lineup right now that, you know, we feel bad because you get a routine and you like your routine and it's working for you, and now all of a sudden it's stopped, and now what? I got to find something else. So hopefully we can get back on track so that we can adjust some of those issues. And but it is important for sure. You know, my biggest thing is when we're at school, and there's nothing against the college or anything like that, but it's just regular, that pink soap that's in the pump, you know.
Mhm.
But everybody in the class, and we're washing our hands so much in the kitchen, you know, all the time. It's irritating. It dries. Everybody all at once starts to get their cracked knuckles and their hands are dry. And it's like, it's terrible. So, you know, I bring in product because we have to. We have to, you know, you can't feel that way. You're right. It's irritating and it's not a nice feeling. So
Especially
it's
when you
good to
work.
hear.
Yeah, especially when you work with your hands. Like when I'm out with the camera, and it's like I don't like gloves, honestly. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, when you're messing around with like smaller buttons and you got the constant weather and the wind cracking at you, for the most part, you want to make sure that it's maintained and there's no like little cracks or cuts, because it honestly just sucks. Like
It does. Yeah,
and
for
it just
sure.
makes it more irritating. And then hey, maybe, you know, for me to line up a shot, I'm spending 5 minutes because I'm like, you know what, screw this, I'm getting out of here. Let's rush this. Whereas, you know, hey, if I'm comfortable, now I'm taking
It
my time
works.
a little bit more, right?
Yeah, it works for sure.
So what's next for East Coast Globe? What do you hope the future holds?
Well, right now and for the last few months, so the rebrand is like I said, it's active, it's happening. There's some things happening and released. We're working on a new website, and we are head down looking for you know, a new production facility, something. You know, the shop that we have on Church Street is we've outgrown it, and we've known that for some time. We need something a little more comfortable, something that we can get really dirty and clean up really quickly. Um, and that's kind of the goal right now, is to ramp up manufacturing and to make it simpler, simplify the processes that we've had. And that requires larger pieces of equipment, that requires a larger space. And obviously, with that comes more employees. So that just takes the stress of how we've been making it off, and it just makes it a little more seamless. There's just a little more of a 1-2 step rather than a 12-step process to each time we touch something. So hopefully that will, you know, happen in the near future, as we continue to look. But besides that, you know, for Valentine's Day, we hope to have a couple new little items that we're going to work on this week, and release, to get some people excited, and then do things in waves. Like I said, shampoo, conditioner, so close. We've had lots of people ask when is it going to be back, and the shower gel. And then we'll have those refill stations probably within mid-February, a little later of that maybe, at a couple locations. So we'll be announcing that as well. So people can just take their nice glass bottle that they just purchased and go into that shop and get a refill for a less of a cost, because you're not paying for all that packaging and labels and you know, the shipping on it. It's just right there. You pour it up, everybody's happy, and that's the key too. It's just making sure that our customers are always happy and number one for us. So that's about it. Yeah, we're looking forward to the new year and hopefully our season moving into the spring. COVID is maybe, you know, not as scary, and we can kind of travel around. I feel Newfoundland came out last year, and hopefully we continue doing that so that, you know, we support local businesses and support each other.
Awesome. Hey,
Yeah,
Roger, I really want to thank you for your time and joining us here on the Yes By podcast.
yeah. Thanks so much, Robert.
Well, would you look at that? Another episode flew by. Guys, thanks so much for listening. And, you know, especially if you made it to this part, I just want you to know I really appreciate it. Okay. I have a lot of fun doing this, and we're just going to continue. We're going to get better together. And you know what? If you want to be a part of this show, you can. Just send me an email at yesbypodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media. Yes by Podcast. You can come on, tell stories, do whatever you want. Well, okay, hold on. No, not whatever you want. We can do some stuff within reason. Just contact us. Like I said, Yes by Podcast. All right, that's it for this week, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and hey, maybe enjoy a couple soda pops or something like that, whatever you're into. This has been the Yes by Podcast, Newfoundland's #1 podcast. I'm your host, Robert Greeley. All right. In the meantime, stay best kind, guys.